Today I'm going to be tying up a long-tailed version of the silver rat. So you could also call it a Cascade silver rat, really. Okay, because it's going to be using that kind of profile. Okay, so I have white thread because it's going to be a silver body. But also while it's silver, I'm going to actually have the rib and the tag as gold. Okay, so just add on my gold above there. And just bring the thread up just above the hook points. Okay, and then we'll just start to get our gold oval. We could use wire as well. And just start to create that tag there. And then tuck it in underneath. Okay, then we can start bringing our thread up the body. Secure it in, but at the same time I can double this and bring it back down, and that'll help create the rib. Okay, I'm also going to level off the body there a little bit so there's not too much of a kick off at the tail. Okay, so the tail of the fly is going to be yellow bucktail, and I have this already in the stacker ready to go. Okay, so this is size 10 fly, so it's not going to be too heavy. Okay, if you want, you could just tweak a few feathers so they're not too straight, but I'm happy enough with this here. It looks okay to me. Length is entirely up to yourself. You could do the same length as a hook, twice the hook. I'd probably do about twice the shank or so. Okay, and I'm securing this in halfway up the body with a few loose turns, and then I'm going to look to see how it looks, and I'm happy enough with that there. Okay, so as well as that, I'm going to add on some flesh, and I'm going to be adding on some crystal flesh. Okay, not too much. I'm going to just do a couple of strands and then probably double them back over. Okay, so using the weight of the bobbin, just going to put those on. Okay, and then I can double it back. So that means you have 4 strands for a size, this is a size 10 hook. Okay, I'm continuing to secure that down the body. And as I get close to the end, I add a little bit of super glue onto the thread. I have my rib here starting to catch. Okay, so I add on a little bit of super glue onto my thread. And the reason I do this is that I can wrap lightly. I don't need to put on too much pressure where I'm securing on that tail. If I apply too much pressure on bucktail, it can sometimes splay and it turns out to be more like a muddler. I'll just show you at the end here. So up at the front you'll see the way that splays, and I don't want it to do that. Okay, so I'm just holding on to that tail as well because I want a bit of a kick, and because I have the super glue there, it will naturally kick up a little bit, but not too much hopefully. Okay, then I just get my excess and I can just trim that off at an angle if you want. Okay, then we just neaten things up. As well as that, I'm going to shorten some of this crystal flesh. This bit is a little bit long. Okay, so we already have our rib, but what we're going to do is we're going to add on what will be a tag, and I like to put the rib over the tag, so I'm not too worried about varnishing this. Okay, because it'll give it a more secure, and I've got fluorescent yellow here too, so the rib will help secure that in and means that I don't need to varnish it. As some people say, varnish can impact the fluorescence of some of these flosses. I don't know how true it is, but I might as well give it a go. Okay, so just a light tag there. Okay, secure that in. Okay, and then as well, I suppose it's not a tag, it's a butt, I guess you could call it. Then I'm going to add on some silver, holographic silver. Okay, and this is going to be the main part of the body. So just right up to that butt, and then I'm going to add on a little bit of super glue onto the thread, probably about an inch of the thread, and that'll give a good underbody to help grip, but also means that there will be no unraveling if I let go of my fingers, if I let go of the tinsel, for example. Okay, so one good flat wrap right at that butt, and then just start to bring it up. Okay, And this is why I use white thread as well, as if there is any slippage, the only thing you'll expose is white thread as opposed to red or whatever colour you prefer to use. Okay. A few turns in to secure that. I'll trim off. Then I'm going to just get my gold oval. I'm just going to do maybe 4 or 5 turns up the body. Okay. And again, a few turns to secure that in. And trim off our excess. Okay, there's a bit of a lip from the body to the head area, so I'm just going to build that up a little bit. Okay. Next we'll have our wing. So our wing is grey squirrel. You could use, I think the original had silver fox guard hairs, but grey squirrel is what I'm going to use. Okay, I'm not going to have too heavy a wing, and I put it 90 degrees and cut it. Okay, then I'm just going to remove the underfur. Okay, so length is entirely up to yourself. I like to go past the hook points a little bit into the tail. Okay, so I'm gonna pinch what I think will be the end of it, and I'm gonna cut off. That saves me having to shorten my excess out later on. Saves me a little bit of space in my head area. And I'm gonna wax for grip, but I will super glue it as well. Okay, so we'll just put that on, pinch and loop through your 2 fingers. Okay. And then look to see how things are. Okay, so I'm happy enough with that there. It's nice and flat to the back. See how it looks on that side. Okay, and then, as I said earlier, a little bit of super glue goes a long way, especially for squirrel. Squirrel doesn't compress at all with thread, so it would take a lot of wax wraps. And to be honest with you, it'll eventually come out. I'm going to be totally honest with you. Okay, so that's our wing. Okay, the next part we have is our hackle, and for the hackle we have grizzle cock. So I'm just going to break off the tip and expose a few fibres to create a bit of a V, and I tie in. Okay, because there's super glue I didn't use the wax. I didn't have to wax my thread there. Okay, then we just get our scissors and we start to train those fibres to go inwards. And those who watch any of my other videos know if I miss a few, I don't worry too much, I'll get them later on. Okay, then we start to wrap and we'll assess how things go. How many wraps we'll need. Okay, I think we'll do the next wrap. It's only 4 wraps, but I don't like, or only 3 wraps, but I don't like an overdressed fly, particularly if it's a little bit fleshy body. You'll cover all your good work then. Okay, a few turns to secure that in. Okay. Now then. Next, we have jungle cock. Okay, and I have 2 feathers prepared, and these are going to be acting as eyes. I'm just going to put one on each side of the fly. A few turns. We'll see how things look. You can see the thread starting to slip down the eye there, but I'm not too worried because I will need to build up that head anyway. I'm going to have quite a bright flashy head anyway. So now we just make any wee adjustments. Okay, so I like to make sure that they're very similar on both sides, mirrored basically. Okay. I'll continue just to secure them in using the wax thread. Okay, finally I want to use a wee bit of super glue This will give the final bit of security. I also need to change my thread, so the super glue will give me that opportunity. Okay. So before I cut the thread, I'm just going to trim off the excess of the feathers. Okay. And then I can trim off the thread as I'm going to use some glue bright. Okay, now we just add on our glue bright, just the way you would with any other thread. Okay, and then I'm just going to trim off the thread here. And because I know it's slipping a little bit, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add on a little bit of super glue. And this will give me a bit more security, but it means that it won't slip as much at the same time. And I can build a nice bright head of glue bright then. Okay, just check that you have all the white covered. If you don't have it all, don't worry at the same time. Okay, and then I'm going to come in with my whip finish tool while that glue is still wet. A few turns. And that is your long-tailed silver rat, folks. Hopefully you found this tutorial useful. There's plenty more on the channel if you want to check them out. There's loads coming up on screen now too. Thanks very much as always. I'll see you next time. All the best.